Hello, and welcome to another video from 3.5 Archive. Today, we're going to be looking at Reserve Feats, introduced in the Complete Mage supplement. These feats allowed a character to leave a spell of a certain kind prepared to produce an at-will effect, as long as they had that spell or spell slot left in reserve, hence the name Reserve Feat. The strength of the effect is also based on the spell level of the reserved spell. For example, a character with the Fiery Burst Reserve Feat could conjure a 10-foot wide burst of flame that dealt 1d6 damage per level of the highest level fire spell the character had. So a level 7 wizard who left Wall of Fire prepared in reserve could deal 4d6 damage, since Wall of Fire is a 4th level spell. Each reserve feat also gave a +1 to caster level for the associated type of spell. Fiery Burst, for example, gave +1 caster level on fire spells, which meant their fireball spells did more damage at the very least. Reserve feats were a great way to give wizards at-will abilities. While spell slots in combat certainly aren't too sparse after the early levels, having an effect like this usable as much as you want can give a character some advantages when they don't want to use their spells up. In this video, we're going to look at the 10 best reserve feats in D&D 3.5. At number 10, we have Magic Sensitive. This reserve feat required you to be able to cast 3rd level spells, and as long as you had a divination spell of 3rd level or higher prepared or available, you could sense magical auras as if you would cast Detect Magic. The range would only be 5 feet per level of said divination spell, but that will usually be fine, as it will let you tell what items are magic and which aren't in a treasure hoard. Admittedly, a wand of Detect Magic is far cheaper and in most cases will be better, but that's true of a lot of feats that can be replaced by magic items, and this is still a good and flavorful option for a character as well as just being useful. At number 9, we have Touch of Healing. This reserve feat allows you to heal 3 points per level of the highest conjuration healing spell you have available to cast, so long as you have one of at least 2nd level. This is going to be healing you up to a maximum of half hit points, so it will only work on badly wounded characters. That said, when the chips are down and your party has just barely won a tough encounter and need to power through the dungeon for some reason, this can let you heal an entire group up for free enough to let them escape, or let your other healing spells do the rest of the work. The Dragon Shaman has a similar ability as a class feature. This is a pretty situational one, but when it is helpful, it can be very much so, giving you a ton of healing for free, as well as working a bit faster than a Wand of Cure Light Wounds would. At number 8, we have Minor Shapeshift. You need to be able to cast 4th level spells to take this feat, and as long as you have a polymorph spell of 4th level or higher to cast, such as, well, polymorph, you can spend a swift action to choose a small benefit to give yourself. It lasts a number of rounds equal to the highest level polymorph spell you have available to cast, and odds are if you have a polymorph spell to cast, you're going to want to just cast it. But in an adventuring day with a lot of battles where you want to save that polymorph spell for the dragon or demon at the end, this can help give you some benefit from it along the way. The Vigor option gives you +1 hit point per hit die, which isn't a bad option. Nothing says you can't just continuously refresh this as you go through the dungeon. Fragile spellcasters could always use more hit points. And the Might option, giving +2 in melee damage rolls, will help you when you do polymorph into a creature to fight in melee. Simply use this as a swift action first, then cast polymorph and you are ready to go. The other options, giving you a 1d6 claw attack or +5 foot move speed, are fairly mediocre and you probably will never use them. At number 7, we have Invisible Needle. This requires a 3rd level or higher force spell, and gives you a ranged touch attack at will that deals d4s of force damage equal to the level of your highest available force spell, with a range of 5 feet per spell level. Force damage is an important part of any caster's arsenal as a reliable way to deal with incorporeal creatures, but at such close range it's not as useful. As a spellcaster, you tend to want to stay as far away as you can from shadows and wraiths dealing strength and constitution damage, and that's where you're going to want to be using this force damage. Also, unless you're playing Ghostwalker or something, you should be able to get by with a few magic missiles prepared. You shouldn't be running into that many incorporeal creatures, and there are better reserve feats for dealing damage in general, so Invisible Needle is only at number 7. At number 6, we have Blade of Force. This requires you to be able to cast 3rd level spells and lets you surround a weapon with a Nimbus of Force as a swift action. Your next attack with that weapon deals extra force damage equal to the highest level force spell you have available to cast, and that attack also ignores the mischance of incorporeal creatures. Also, you get +1 caster level on your force spells. This feat is a great option for Duskblades as they're level 9 feat. Taking some Bigby's hand spells as your spells known will give you +3 to +5 damage on your first attack each round, and that's likely worth a feat all by itself. Using this as a swift action before a full attack, assuming your Dungeon Master considers swift actions a type of free action, gives you an absolute benefit as long as you leave at least one 5th level spell slot open. Which isn't always the best option to do, but it's good to have that option at least. It's better than Invisible Needle in that it always gives you its benefit, whereas Invisible Needle deals less damage than other Reserve Feats that give you at-will damage in return for a purely situational benefit. Blade of Force can be alright for other characters too, but it's best for Duskblades, and that earns it its spot on this list. At number 5, we have Charnal Myasma, which requires you to have access to the Death Domain and to second level spells. You get +1 to your caster level for death spells, but you can also use a standard action to force one foe to make a will save or be shaken for 1 minute. If you use this on an already shaken creature, it becomes panicked for 1 minute, or until it spends a full round out of your sight. The way this is worded is a bit odd because usually stacking fear conditions requires the fear to be coming from different sources, but the feat specifically says you can use this on a creature that is already shaken. It doesn't say they can be a creature that was already shaken with this feat, but that seems to be implied. Either way, there are lots of other ways to get the shaken condition on a creature, not least of all is the Doom spell or the Intimidate skill. This isn't the strongest way to inflict fear on an opponent, but it is reusable and doesn't require ranks in Intimidate, and that earns it its spot on this list. At number 4, we have Acidic Splatter. This feat requires you to be able to cast second level spells. As long as you have a second level or higher acid spell available, such as Mel's Acid Arrow, you can shoot an orb of acid as a ranged touch attack. The range is only 5 feet per level of the acid spell, but it deals 1d6 damage per level of that acid spell. Acid gets its spot on this list as opposed to Fiery Burst, because ranged touch attacks are easier to succeed at than reflex saves are for monsters to fail, and because monsters that are resistant or immune to acid are far less common than those immune or resistant to fire. This isn't an incredible feat and runs into the issue over conserving spell slots out of a sort of scarcity mindset, but it is good to have a reliable damage source up your sleeve, as well as being able to get a little bit more mileage out of that one acid spell that you have, as there aren't a ton of acid spells out there. At number 3, we have Dimensional Jaunt. This feat is from Complete Mage and lets you teleport up to 5 feet per level of the highest level teleportation spell you have available to cast. You can't bring other creatures along besides a familiar, and you can't go very far, but this can be done as a standard action that doesn't provoke attacks of opportunity. This lets you teleport yourself out of lots of dangerous situations, and is good for a spellcaster who finds his allies don't do a good job of protecting him. This could even let you escape from a grapple potentially, since it's a supernatural ability. And being able to escape from one of the worst things that can happen to a spellcaster, at will with a 100% success rate, is enough to earn Dimensional Jaunt its spot at number 3 on this list. At number 2, we have Holy Warrior. This feat from Complete Champion requires you to be able to cast 4th level spells and have the War Domain. It gives you +1 caster level on 4 spells, but more importantly, it gives you a bonus on weapon damage rolls equal to the highest level War Domain spell you have available to cast. This works out to a bonus on damage rolls equal to roughly half your level. In fact, a shade better than that. This is amazing and gives a melee-focused War Domain cleric a real edge in melee combat. Alongside Divine Power and a Greatsword, you can be a terrifying foe in melee, or even a solid archer cleric with Zen Archery. However you want to do it, this is an excellent feat for War Domain clerics who are already very strong, and that earns it its spot at number 2 on this list. And finally, at number 1, we have Summon Elemental. This feat requires you to be able to cast 4th level spells, and as long as you have a summoning spell of 4th level or higher available to cast, you can summon an elemental of any of the 4 basic types, which remains for 1 round per level of the spell in question. This gets you a medium elemental if the spell is level 6 or higher, and a large elemental if the spell is level 8 or higher. This is a great way to have a companion around you at all times to protect you in melee, especially if the DM is cooperative enough to ignore you casting this every 30 seconds or so as you make your way through the dungeon. It might slow down the party slightly, but with a heavy armored fighter in the party moving at 20 foot speed instead of 30 feet, it likely won't be an issue. Summon Elemental is a great way to always have a target for your buff spells that you can send into combat all the time, and never run out of a defender for you that isn't your familiar, who you probably don't want to risk in combat at all. So that'll be about it for this top 10 list. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, and so on. Let me know in the comments what Reserve Feat is your favorite and why. And that'll be about it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time here on 3.5 Archive.